Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and good night, wherever you may be on this wild and wacky, and sometimes wild planet of ours. Have I said wild? Yes. Dangerous, I don't know. Weird. What have we got today? Well, we've got something going on, George and Doris. Well, George is being confronted by a wild thing. Adolf is there watching over stuff, and she says, Wilding, George, not wild thing. So we're looking at Wildings, my collection of Wildings today, which some have come to me, some I've purchased, some I bought. I inherited none, but I'm quite stuck on them at the minute. Quite enjoying them. So what else have we got? Nice cup of tea. It's not that funny, is it? But we gotta do a bit of a cartoon. The Wilding goes there. Okay, so we'll get rid of the wild thing, and we will get into the main discussion of the day. So we'll start first of all with what I had. So I bought a stockbook many months ago, really now. And when I came to look at the Wildings, these are stamps which were designed from the photograph by Dorothy Wilding. Apparently, I believe that to be the truth. And there are a number that she did for GB, for the Queen's. It was the first stamp that was produced for the Queen, for the new Queen, Her Majesty the Queen. And therefore, they became, iconic. The picture became iconic, and other countries, members of the Commonwealth and the Empire, did use this particular photograph, and it made Her Majesty the Queen one of the most photographed women ever in the history of the world. When you consider that counts as one, and there's billions of them. And yet, that's not the most popular, as we shall see. So what have we got? Well, we got a half D. We've got, you know all this anyway, a penny, tuppence, another tuppence there, hiding away. I think this is 2.5p. 3, 4, 4.5, 5, pretty rare, 7, and this is 6, so 7s have slipped ahead of the game, because there's not many of them. Penny halfpenny, penny halfpenny, and 8D, I haven't got many of those. 9D, I do have a few of those, but they are pretty rare. 10, when I say rare, I mean comparatively. 10D, uber rare. I'm sure, 1 and 6. 1 and 3, 1 and 6. 1 and 6, that's it. And I think there's I think there's also a shilling, which seems to be missing, and I've got a gazillion of them, so I may just, excuse me for one moment, 1 shilling. I'll get one out of here to prove that I have got. Bring 4 out at once, don't I? It's like, what's going on here? Come on, Peter, you're better than this. Cheers, me. Dig in. Just get one out. There. There's the one. And it probably, it's not the greatest, but it'll just show that I've got it. So it's in there. So this is what I had to begin with. Also on the back of some of them, there are these lines. This has been passed over to me, and this I owned when I looked, and it was a tuppence. So apparently, for so few in a set, There's a lot of organisation to do with them because they're different colours, they're different years. Watermarks are a big thing for some, not for me. And also I am missing one of them, which we'll subsequently see now. So put this away. We go to the next part. I hope I don't run out of time. We'll ignore the penny reds. And you've seen these as well on a short that I did. So the Wildings, the half P's are very, very, very common. The dark blues are very, 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 very common. Dark greens less so. So much so I don't have an individual envelope for dark greens that I'm subsequently pulling out. The browns, not as common. Not common enough to have its own envelope, but a page full nonetheless. Wilding 2.5 reds or carmines, yes, very common. Deep lilac, exceedingly common. Blue 4D, very, very common. We go up to 4.5, not many. As you can see on the page now, we're getting gaps. What I want is a full page of them, and I want them cut off paper. So I want them from the arts and crafts, I want them in bulk. So the 5 Wildings, and then we've got the 6. 6 does pop out every handful. There'll be 1 or maybe 2 stuck together, so that's pretty good. Wilding 7p, I've only managed to get one of those. Wilding 8, just the 1. Wilding 9, 5. Wilding 10, just the 3. On paper, on the back of paper, so I've trimmed around the paper in order to mount it or stick it. 11, empty. 1 shilling, a full page. 1 and 3p, just the 2. And 1 and 6p, just the 3. So that's what we've got there. So what is occurring? Well, as I've already shown you here, I've got a little pile, teeny weeny pile of browns, and you can see maybe sort of immediately the difference in colour. One is more chocolatey than the other, for example. Now, do I make a big fuss, song and a dance about that? I can't say I do. And I might say that I should. But at this moment in time, as my English master would not say, he'd thrash me for that. At this moment in time, I'm not making that differential. We'll just look at the greens as well, and you can see it again. The sort of slight difference in colour. These are the only 2 I've pulled out in the bag over the last couple of dig deeps. So there's that. And then the other thing I pulled out, which was a little bit different, and is not rare, it's not worthy of anything, but it's just a bit different, was the Machin with the Wilding side by side to add to the 4p. So a postman or whoever was posting the letter stuck it, and so I thought that was a bit of fun. Okay, as things come out of bags on paper, they go into my stamps on paper cancels collection. So we got Newquay, Taunton, Hull, Southport, Chesterfield, Newton Abbot, where the horse racing is, Shrewsbury. Depends which side of the river you live on. Some say it's Shrewsbury on that side, and the other side it's Shrewsbury. For me, it's Shrewsbury. Southport, Bristol, recorded delivery, so that's quite a nice cancel, I think cheap, it says. Southend-on-Sea, Tunbridge Wells, Cambridge, where the university is, Mansion House, rabbits. We've mentioned this painting, and yeah, I think we've got that. Do we have anything on the left hand side? Yeah, well, you have this here. Christchurch in Hampshire, not in New Zealand. Colchester in Essex, and it's a bit. If only it's a bit smudgy. In fact, it's a lot smudgy. I'm sure others would burn it. They would sacrifice it they'd burn it. But I liked it because it said post office, so I thought it was a bit novel. So there we have that. Now finally, what am I getting this stuff from? Well, it is from here. First of all, there was a bag within a bag which did have stamps off paper, which I have subsequently mounted in the pages, as you've already seen. And these, what I'm doing is I'm either looking for cancels, in which case I would trim around the cancel and make it nice and neat, or if there's no nice cancel, what I'm doing is saving the stamp basically, but it remains on paper. I'm not soaking them off. I'm not that sort of person to do the soaking. No, I'll cut round it, and also if subsequent owners of these stamps want to soak it off, that's up to them. But what I would do is again, I will put them all either on the page, or whatever's left over goes in their individual envelopes. As you can see, there's a lot there. You saw the shilling one, which was misbehaving earlier, and we see 2.5 reds and 1.5 orange. Strangely, this initially was I put the 4p ones into this big bag, thinking that these were the most common, but I think it's these and also the dark blue pennies. So the threepence and the pennies are proving to be the ones that are the most common, the commonest of the common. Very, very common. Will I change the... no, I won't, because as soon as I say change them round, these will come pouring through, won't they? So that is quite interesting. So as I'm doing it, I'm sort of learning all the time about what to expect from a handful, from a pinch. And it's actually fantastic when suddenly a sort of, not a rare, but you know, a sixpence pops out. And it's got me hungry for more. But what will happen is this bag will finish over time. The pages will be filled, or will be filled as much as I possibly can fill them from this bag. The leftover stamps will go into their envelopes, and they will all return, all the envelopes and the bags which are carrying all of the Wildings will return to this bag, but in some sort of order. I hope that makes sense. Is there anything I've forgotten? Yes, there's another brown that apparently was issued, but of a different valuation, a different denomination. And I have not found one of those, and I've actually forgotten. I watched 1 or 2 videos. I watched John Collects Stamps, his video on it, and another video on it. And they explained it. You know, if you look at Wildings on YouTube, Wilding stamps on YouTube, you get some good, solid information from people who know their stuff. One interesting thing was that D is penny, but it's actually the Latin denarius, because, as you know, in Britain, we have every language in the world in Britain. You know, we've had French from the Normans, we've had Latin from the Romans, so you know, every language is part of our culture over here. We've lost many languages as well, Manx and Cornish, but you know, the D is penny. So if you see a D, it is pre-decimalisation, and if you see the P, it's post decimalisation, which I think was 1969 or 1970. I was thinking maybe this was going to be an example of a 3p instead of a 3d with a 1d, but it wasn't. Now that would have been interesting, but it isn't. It's stuck with the denarius. So LSD, pounds, lira, shillings, which is Germanic, and denarius, which is Roman. That was the pounds, shillings, and pence, and then we went over to decimalisation, which is, Roman. So it went from something like 200 and something pennies in the pound to 100 pennies in the pound. So that's a little bit of that's as far as I know about anything. I've now run out of stuff that I know. I just about remember my name. Yes, I do know my name. Anyway, we'll leave it there for now. Hope you're having a fantastic day. 16 minutes have gone. This is a record. Talk to you soon. Bye for now. Bye.